So eventually, life asks something different of us. Not, can you survive, but can you live? If you're new here, we invite you to join our team and we hope that you'll continue to follow us. However, you need to know that this can be an intense conversation that we hold sometimes. Today's episode is one of these, so buckle up.
Before we begin, welcome to Unapologetically Reborn. This isn't a podcast about quick fixes, positive thinking, or pretending the past didn't happen. These conversations are designed to challenge the way you understand yourself, your relationships, your nervous system, and the survival strategies that shaped your life. The goal of this podcast is to translate trauma into language that makes sense, so you can better understand your experiences, recognize your patterns, and explore yourself with greater clarity and compassion. This podcast is intended for educational and personal growth purposes. It is not a substitute for therapy, mental health treatment, medical care, or crisis support. If you find yourself becoming emotionally overwhelmed, please consider pausing the episode, practicing self-care, and reaching out to a qualified mental health professional for additional support. Healing isn't about becoming someone new. It's about understanding who survival required you to become, and discovering who you are underneath the armor. If you're ready to have honest conversations, ask difficult questions, and explore what it truly means to heal, welcome to Unapologetically Reborn. This is where survival ends and choices begin.
Hello, my name is Cody. Welcome back to Unapologetically Reborn. What's up?
Hello, I'm Alicia. Nice to have you here. So, this is basically what I want to say. If you're a regular listener, we thank you for, being here and taking the time out for yourself.
Yeah.
We commend you in your growth journey. If you're new here, we invite you to join our team and we hope that you'll continue to follow us. However, you need to know that this can be an intense conversation that we hold sometimes. Today's episode is one of these, so buckle up.
No, we're not one of those podcasts or, okay, it's okay. We spit cold facts and medical things.
We're all here to try to get well.
Yeah.
And how we do that is by being truthful.
Yeah. You're not going to get no BS from us.
So there is a matching workbook that correlates with this episode. If you go to www.unapologeticallyreborn.com. So, question for you. Have you ever wondered why the very things that once helped you survive are now making it harder to actually live?
Yes.
You too?
Yep.
Want to elaborate or?
No. I understand where you're coming from and talking about.
Well, this most definitely happened to me, and this is how I began my journey. Maybe you've spent your whole life being strong. Maybe you learned to ask for help, never to ask for help.
Probably never.
Yeah, probably. Different for everybody. But maybe you're, constantly rescanning every room that you're in for danger, or you apologize for everything.
Oh, I've been there.
Maybe you take care of everyone else before you take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Or you can't relax when everything's okay. We call these things personality traits. And we've had past conversations about that. But these aren't personality traits at all. So what if they're actually armor? Here's the thing. Armor is an incredibly useful thing during a battle. But the problem is most of us never learned how to take it off. There was a time when your armor saved your life. If you grew up around an unstable environment in your life and unpredictability, if you grew up walking on eggshells in some dysfunctional home, your brain adapted. Hypervigilance wasn't a flaw, it was a protection. So let's look at like people pleasing. It wasn't weakness, it was protection. Perfectionism. It wasn't about achievement, it was protection. Emotional numbness. It wasn't because you didn't care, it was protection. Your nervous system wasn't trying to ruin your life, it was trying to save it. And honestly, it did. You survived. You're still here. But here's the question that many people, I feel, don't discuss. I've looked for this. I've tried to find answers for this when I was on my journey and when I started looking into myself. What happens when the war is over, but you're still wearing your armor? Armor's heavy. It makes it hard to breathe. It makes it hard to hug people. It makes it hard to trust. It makes it hard to receive love. It makes it hard to rest. And the very thing that once kept you alive begins keeping you from living. And I think that every one of us eventually reaches a crossroad. Not because, we're weak people, but because survival strategies have limits. Eventually, hear me out, hypervigilance. Hypervigilance becomes anxiety. People pleasing, it becomes resentment. Perfectionism, it becomes exhaustion. Emotional shutdown becomes loneliness. Control becomes fear. And somewhere along the way, you begin asking yourself, why isn't this working anymore? And that's a really, really scary place to be. That's exactly what happened to me. I won't bore you with the details unless you really would like to know and you email me. Then, we'll have a conversation about that. But that was really an intense, scary place because when you've done something, as long as you can remember, and you go back to it, and it no longer serves you, what do? You don't know. But I think this is the wrong question to ask ourselves. The better question is, what was the strategy originally designed to do? I think many people miss that. At least I did. Because the strategies that we adapt and we take on and the masks that we wear, they're not designed to help you thrive. It's designed to help you survive. These are two different goals. So eventually, life asks something different of us. Not, can you survive, but can you live? This is where today's conversation really begins. I think there comes a moment in almost every healing journey where you realize you have two choices. You can keep wearing the armor that protected you, even if it cost you your relationships, your peace, your identity, and your future. Or you can begin the difficult work of taking it off. Not all at once. It's not going to happen in a day. Rome wasn't built in a day. But it's piece by piece. Healing isn't about pretending that the armor was never necessary. Healing is about recognizing what once protected you yesterday may be preventing you from living today. And that's why I say this is where survival ends and choices begin. Over the next several episodes, we're going to talk about what happens after that choice, why change feels terrifying, why we become attached to familiar pain, why healthy relationships can actually feel unsafe, why we resist peace, and most importantly, how we begin building a life that no longer requires armor. Because I don't believe you're broken, I believe you've been surviving. And there comes a point, where surviving isn't enough anymore. So the question isn't whether your armor saved you. The question is, are you finally ready to live without it?
Episode 1.
So how do you know when it's time to stop surviving and start living? What does this feel like? To live inside survival. Describe it. Let's look at it. Emotionally, it's mentally exhausting. You don't trust your thoughts. Matter of fact, I'd call it hell. Every decision feels like high stakes. You read between every line. You hear criticism that's not there. You can't tell your intuition from your fear. You mistake your anxiety for truth. You carry conversations in your head for hours.
Damn.
You rehearse before they happen. You replay them afterwards. You monitor everyone's mood before your own. You can't enjoy the present because you're preparing for the future.
Jeez, are you sure you're not reading a Stephen King book? Damn.
No, this is survival.
My Lord.
It's hell. It's absolutely
No, I'm
exhausting.
saying you could be one of those people who read his books. What's those? Well, who like the thing you're trying to do with your book? Like you say the words and out of your voice and everything.
Oh, describe it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's absolutely miserable.
Holy
I wouldn't
shit.
wish it on anybody. And then when you throw emotional dysregulation in there, but you've never heard the term emotional dysregulation,
Oh my Lord.
you don't even realize that you're dysregulated.
Damn.
You don't realize anything about yourself. You don't even know who you are anymore because this has become your normal. It is absolute hell. And I want, my goal is to try to pull you out of it. So this is going to be a very intense, I want you to know it's going to be a very intense couple of episodes. This is going to be a very intense series, and I hope you're ready for it.
Keywords intense.
And I'm perfectly comfortable about telling you my story, but I don't want to sound self-involved and giving you, things.
I know you don't want to lecture them and everything.
Right. But are you ready?
Yep.
I'm not trying to scare you, but one of the things that we need to discuss is what happens when we're in this process. So before we continue, let me just say where I am today is also not a fun place. So I'm not who I was, but I'm not who I want to be. Okay, if that makes any sense. So basically what I'm trying to say is I've been tempted to go backwards. Okay. And when I say backwards, back to my thing was being tough, being strong, and tuning it out, making it go away. I could shut it off like it's nothing and go forward. I could make it stop. That's my control. Boom, it's over. Let's continue. And my initial mechanism for this happened a long time ago. Let it go. Get over it. Don't be a baby. Because in my family, it was don't be a puss. Keep going. So that's what I would tell myself whenever I had an emotion, a thought, a feeling, or whatever. Boom, shut it off. Make it stop. And I tried that. And the dam busted open. And now that I'm 51, this happened before that, but it doesn't work anymore. And that's incredibly scary because it's your life raft. Where do you go? What do you do? You're stuck. But what I feel we need to discuss, okay, people don't realize, and we're going to get more into depth in this series, what happens when you begin to heal. And I don't want to be negative about it. I don't want to tell you nothing but bad things. But somewhere in your head, you have this magical, hey, if I read 20 self-help books, and if I do this, and I listen to this podcast, and I journal, and I go to this therapist, and I do all these things, none of this other stuff is ever going to happen to me again. False. That's not true. And that's what we need to discuss. What will happen during this journey? And I hope you're ready for it. Previously discussed. Things that we previously discussed, just that little list to try to describe what survival is or what it looks like. Sorry if I'm tired. My daughter's moving and I'm babysitting. I want you to know you're not crazy. This is what your nervous system learned. This is not because you're a whack job. So basically, if I can predict it, maybe I can prevent it. This is what you learned if you grew up in a dysfunctional environment. Remember, if I can predict it, I can prevent it. And that is why you're scanning and you're looking and you're trying to avoid this, that, or whatever. And you're always intense and everything's always, oh, what if this and what if that? And I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop. Okay. It's hell. I get it. I've been there. But it doesn't work in peace. Okay. I think there's another huge point. Internalizing. Okay. Internalizing is a big term. This is going to be in the workbook. We're going to talk about this in previous things. Internalizing was a big one for me. So when something goes wrong, the healthy nervous system, healthy nervous system, you wonder what's going on with them, what's going on with the people around you. In a survival nervous system, what did I do? This is huge. This is enormous. Another one, the loss of objectivity. everything becomes personal. Someone doesn't text you back. Someone, looks tired. Someone walks past you. Your brain says, oh, it must be me. I did something wrong. This is internalizing. We learn this at a young age. Another, you stop living in reality. You start living in prediction. You spend more time imagining what might happen and, experience that and what it might be than what's actually happening. It's like you lose where you're at. I don't want to say you lose reality, because that's not necessarily the case. It's real to an extent, but you're, waiting for the other shoe to drop. It's the best way I can describe it. So another, being dysregulated, it doesn't just feel anxious. It feels busy. It's loud. It's urgent. It's chaotic. Like every decision matters. Like every relationship needs monitoring. Like your body never gets permission to power down. A dysregulated nervous system doesn't just steal your peace. It steals your ability to experience the present. We don't, most of us don't wake up one morning and decide to become people pleasers. We don't decide to become hypervigilant. We don't choose perfectionism. We don't choose emotional numbness. Our environment, it chooses what our nervous system needed to survive. So every child asks one question. Okay? The question is, what do I have to become to stay safe here? This answer becomes your armor. So every piece of armor, it has a purpose. Each adaptation, hypervigilance, purpose. Notice the danger before it happens. The cost. You never relax. You mistake peace for danger. People pleasing. What's the purpose? You keep everyone happy. You avoid conflict. You stay connected. What's the cost? You disappear. You don't know your own needs. You resent everyone. Perfectionism. What's the purpose? If I'm perfect, maybe no one will criticize me. What's the cost? Nothing's ever good enough. Rest becomes guilt. Mistakes become, shame. Emotional shutdown. What's the purpose? You feel less. You survive more. What's the cost? You stop feeling joy. You disconnect from everyone. Independence. What's the purpose? You don't need anyone. You're never going to be disappointed. What's the cost? You become lonely. You receiving love feels unsafe and scary. The armor starts cracking. This happens when life changes. You want intimacy, marriage, children, friendships, peace, success. Now the armor, it interferes. So have you ever noticed the healthier your life becomes, the more uncomfortable you become? Why is that? Why is that, Cody?
Because your nervous system is thrusted in chaos.
Yeah, because your nervous system trusted the chaos. It became used to that. Okay? Not peace. So, identity crisis. This is big. You aren't just losing behaviors, you're losing identities. So the strong one, the responsible one, the rescuer, the invisible one, the caretaker, the overachiever, the funny one,
Me.
the perfect one. Who are you now? Do you know?
The funny one.
Well, is that a real thing, or is that an identity that you adapted?
Probably the real thing.
Hey, you have a natural ability.
I would say
funny.
the handsome one, but hey, who knows? Who's kidding?
All right, well, here's what I need you to know. Healing changes identity too. Okay. This can be terrifying. Why does healing hurt? People think healing hurts because memories sometimes, often healing hurts because you're grieving. You grieve the parent that you needed, the childhood that you deserved, the years survival stole relationships, dreams, roles, old beliefs. Even unhealthy identifies, it feels familiar. So why do relationships change? Because some people only benefited from your armor. So I think it's part 6 where we're going to discuss why relationships change. Okay, and this is hard, but it's a fact in your healing. And I want you to be aware before you start doing this and you're stuck in it and you're going, what's going on? Is it me? No, it's not you. This is part of the process. So some people only benefited from your armor. Okay, you need to know they liked the version of you that never said no, that never needed help, that never had opinions, that never had boundaries. Okay, but when you heal, you become inconvenient to some people. Some relationships end, but others will deepen. Part 7 is going to be the confusing middle that nobody talks about. The middle where you don't know who you are. You don't know what you like. You don't know your values and your opinions, your dreams, your hobbies, your boundaries. This is identity emerging, new identity. And what's on the other side? We need to look at that. Not perfection, freedom, peace, rest, joy, self-trust, healthy relationships, purpose, the ability to be loved without performing, the ability to rest without guilt, the ability to say no without panic, the ability to exist without apologizing. So maybe healing isn't becoming someone new. Maybe healing is finally meeting the person who never got the chance to exist because survival had to take over. Maybe this is what rebirth really is. It's not becoming someone else. It's finally becoming yourself. What if you're not exhausted because you're weak? What if you're exhausted because you've been surviving for decades?
Damn.
You analyze every conversation. You replay everything you said. You wonder if you offended someone. You constantly scan people's facial expressions. You anticipate rejection before it even happens. You prepare for conversations that never take place. You explain yourself before anyone asks. You apologize. When you're done, when you've done nothing wrong, you don't know how to rest because rest feels dangerous. Your body's sitting on the couch, but your nervous system is still fighting yesterday's battle. If this sounds familiar, you may not be, broken. You're simply wearing armor, and it no longer fits. Healing costs something, but staying the same costs something too. One costs you your comfort. The other costs you your future. One asks you to grieve. The other asks you to keep surviving. But only you can decide which price you're willing to pay. So next week, I want to talk about what happens after you put the armor down and you suddenly don't recognize yourself anymore. Because I think this is the loneliest part of healing that honestly, I've never heard anybody talk about. Doesn't mean they haven't, but I've not seen it myself. And I feel like this is a really important piece to the equation. So thank you for joining us. I hope you have a fabulous week, and please be ready. I hope you have a great 4th of July. Please be safe. Thank you to everybody that served. Our country is amazing, even though we're having some serious issues right now.
Love the fireworks.
Yeah, be safe. Have fun. Hope you get some family time. Anything you want to say before we close?
No, like I said in the last episode, drop those comments. Tell us what we can do better, what you do like, what you probably don't like. But hey, stay positive. That's why we're here, to improve everything.
Awesome. I love it. All right. Thanks, guys. Remember, Unapologetically Reborn. We have books, we have literature. It's all free. Check out our website. We have wallpapers download to your phone should you need a daily reminder. This is where survival ends and choices begin. We'll see you next week.
Yep.